There was times where I'd wake up in the morning and check my bank account, and I'd be like, oh no, payroll's in 2 days and I have no money. What do I do? I'd say one of the most powerful lessons I've learned is around hiring, for sure. I haven't taken any funding since starting the company, so one of the toughest things is growing the company to the point where I can hire the right talent. Because starting the company, bringing on people at lower salaries, I wasn't able to get some of the best people on board, so that was one of the biggest struggles, and I learned it's okay to borrow money to do the right things to grow the company. At first I was very hesitant about taking on debt and borrowing and putting the expenses on credit cards. But once I learned how to properly leverage debt, I was able to also properly grow the company with the right people. I was able to bring in people at better salaries. The first best hire I made was my COO. His name's Ian. He was relatively familiar with the industry. He'd actually come from a company who was our client. And he left that company to join Direction.com and help grow the company, which was awesome. And once he was able to take a lot off my plate, and when I say a lot off my plate, it was a lot about client communications, a lot of sales as well, so that I could focus more on the vision. He was my integrator. I wish I'd brought him on when I started the company. But if I was looking for him exactly a few years back, wouldn't have worked out. So hiring a COO/integrator, however you want to call it, was definitely the best first hire I made. It was 2021, decided to take the leap in integrating a system called EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. That was substantial for the growth of my company. I was very hesitant at first at implementing it. I actually first tried to self-implement, and it worked to an extent. The reason I was a little hesitant was because it costs thousands of dollars per day for an integrator, or EOS integrator, to come in and help structure your company. But that being said, it's 1 day a quarter, and then, but at the same time, when you're growing a company bootstrapped, spending $5,000–6,000 a quarter on 1 day seems kind of wild. But I also learned that when you invest in the company, there's a payoff. And that's something I've learned time and time again. Whenever I'm hesitant to do something that I know is going to grow my company and I don't do it, I always kick myself for when I do it later and wish that I went back in time to actually do it when I knew my gut was telling me to do it. But it helped with a lot of systems, processes, making sure the right people, right seats. I actually wrote like a 6-part blog series about how helpful it was, which is on the site Direction.com. Yes, there's a lot of times where I wish I had gone back and did it when I had the gut feeling. And I've learned from that to trust my gut. And I've also learned from that, like I said, whenever there's an opportunity to make an investment in the company or in myself, such as in training or bettering or training my people, bettering their skills, instead of being hesitant on it or waiting to do it until the time is right or until the money's right, there's very little times that the money or the time is ever actually perfect. And what really pushed me into learning a lot of those lessons was nearly failing multiple times. There was times where I'd wake up in the morning and check my bank account, and I'd be like, oh no, payroll's in 2 days and I have no money. What do I do? And I was sick of having money issues and budget issues, and that's when I really focused on investing more and making sure that never happens again. I mean, I tried a few different things. There was OKRs, scaling up, Vern Harnish. There was, I read those books and I took bits and pieces from them and I'd apply them. But while trying to grow and run a company, while trying to also implement processes and throwing things on employees and being, all right, please take this on, and then they don't, and then it was tough. And I never fully implemented any specific type of system until EOS. And I think the reason I chose EOS was it was probably the simplest of all the systems that I read about or seen. And when I talked to other people about it, they raved about it, because at first I thought, my business is different. It's not gonna work for my business. You don't get it. Those are just lies I told myself and excuses I told myself, which just simply aren't true. Yeah, the most challenging is around finances. And for years, I always had issues with rushing at the end of the year to make sure that I can file taxes on time and things like that, and not being more focused and clear on finances throughout the year. The reason that was I ran into so many hard times was because I'd have employees that would ask questions that I should be able to answer as a CEO of a company, such as, hey, when can I get a raise? How much is the raise? Hey, when can I get a new computer? My computer's bad, right? And I have to go, let me get back to you, and then a week later I check in, hey, you told me to get back to me yesterday. So the toughest lesson around not tracking and measuring everything in terms of finances, budgeting, forecasting, that's one of the biggest things that I wish I had truly focused fully on many years ago. Make sure you know your numbers and which ones matter most. Yes, so in Profit First, the methodology is you have 5 different bank accounts, and whenever money comes in, you put like 1% into each account that you do not see, you do not look at, you do not touch. And that has been super helpful, because there was one time we lost our largest client, and I was like, okay, we need some cash. And I did what you're not supposed to technically do, to look at the bank accounts, and it's a wave of relief. I have everything covered because I was able to properly implement what Profit First taught. So one thing that I wish I had known about was, I would say, the importance of myself and taking care of my own health and managing my stress, but also, like, when I say myself, my focus and my energy, where it goes, and having the proper systems to focus on the right things that are going to grow the company. There's a book called The One Thing. I forget who writes it, but he has some great analogies about like multitasking and how that's not really a thing, and how to focus on one priority, the one thing that's going to drive the biggest result, and also to have that focus, to know what to prioritize, to know what to work on, and whatever that one thing is for your business, to take it to the next level. You do have to be physically and mentally able to focus, instead of staying at the office all night saying, you know what, I'm going to the gym. Because your body and your mind are so tied together. The more that I take care of myself, the better the results are at work. Previously, I was in the Army, and I was about three years into the company, and I was still working a lot. And one of my old friends from the Army came to visit, and he looks at me and he goes, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Dude, no, I'm trying to grow a company. I'm working endless hours, blah, blah, blah." He's like, "Have you weighed yourself recently, dude? I've never seen you so thin and so pale." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm not getting sunlight." And he's like, "Dude, you know." And I was like, I would make excuses, but I have to. And if I missed a single hour Saturday night at work, I could have lost this client, blah, blah, blah. And just give myself excuses as to why I wouldn't do something. But that really was a kick for me. When one of my good friends who knew me for so many years looked at me and he was like, "Are you okay, dude? Like, don't do this to yourself." He's like, "It's not worth it." And really made me think and realize, yeah, no, I need to get back into who I was before, when I was at my best in the military, and then also when I was, in the CIA and everything. I was taking care of myself, both like mentally, physically. I was eating properly. There's 5 things that I prioritize in my life, and it's like mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, and financial. And I realized there was pieces of those 5 important things to my life that I was not focusing on. And it wasn't until somebody who knew me super well saw me and told me, like, "Hey, dude, you look a lot skinnier and pale," and yikes. Direction.com is my website. I'm on LinkedIn. See, I've also got a YouTube channel, so at direction.com. I just started the YouTube channel, so it's brand new. Follow me on YouTube. If you like my stuff, great. If you don't, tell me what's wrong with it, and I will do whatever I can to make it better.